I recently got to see Tatsuki Fujimoto's Look Back in theaters, and I gotta say, I was pleasantly surprised. I wasn't entirely sure of what to expect since I didn't read the one-shot and really didn't know what it was about aside from making manga. While it is a shorter movie, coming in at roughly 58 minutes, there was a lot of story packed into it, and the main feeling that I took away from it was my hard work as a creator being validated. To briefly give context, the story follows Fujino, an aspiring manga artist who draws rather simple comic strips for her school's newspaper. Things change though when Kiyomoto, a fellow artist who happens to be a recluse, also joins the school newspaper with drawings that put Fujino to shame. This sparks some rather creative competition in Fujino, who's now determined to improve and become better than Kiyomoto, although she never really succeeds in that. Once the two meet, they learn that they're not so different and embark on this very creative journey of making manga together and utilizing each other's strengths and weaknesses. For example, Fujino is great at drawing characters and writing an engaging story, while Kiyomoto excels at drawing backgrounds. This aspect of the story really highlights how the creative process is a collaborative one. No one can truly do anything on their own, so bringing in other people to help out where you struggle is a necessary thing. There's also an aspect of community that comes with said collaboration. Prior to meeting Fujino, Kiyomoto was a shut-in who didn't talk or interact with anyone and just drew all day. But then, through their shared love of manga and art, Kiyomoto and Fujino were able to build an incredible friendship and encourage each other in their creative endeavors. Now, that's all fine and dandy, but what I want to go back and focus on is how Fujino reacts when she's upstaged by Kiyomoto at the beginning of the movie, because this is the scene that, in my personal opinion, gave me the most validation as a creator. Immediately afterwards, she goes and picks up books on how to get better at drawing, which makes sense given her personality and incessant need to be the best. Then we get a montage of her spending insane amounts of time drawing in sketchbook after sketchbook and basically becoming a shut-in like Kiyomoto. But where does that get her? Not really anywhere close to Kiyomoto. Yes, her art improves, but she still can't draw those impressive backgrounds, so she just decides to give up. You might be thinking to yourself, this is the part that gave you validation? Yes, and let me explain why. I've been doing YouTube for quite some time now, be it on this channel or one of the many others I've had over the years. And in that time, I've really always done my own thing. I did take inspiration from my favorite creators, especially in the early days, but I generally marched to the beat of my own drum. However, something that's always bothered me is the feeling of never being as good as the creators that inspired me. So, in feeling upstaged, I've spent a lot of time doing research on how to write better scripts, have snappier editing, make more engaging thumbnails, the whole 9 yards. I did this a lot a couple years back during my unemployment phase right after college, where I needed something to do with my time, so I started a gaming podcast and focused all of my time and effort into it. I'll be the first to admit that it was a fun time, but I can also say that the grindset mindset very quickly became an obsession. It went from just trying to gradually improve with every video to dozens of late nights, little sleep, and shutting myself in my room to get things done. Much like Fujino, I stopped interacting with my friends and family, all for the sake of working on videos, which very quickly became detrimental to my mental health. Eventually, I did hit rock bottom and burn myself out, so I stepped away from that project and started hanging out with my family and friends again. Now, fast forward to this channel and I caught myself doing it again. Dozens of late nights, lost sleep, and endlessly staring at analytics that never really got me anywhere. So now I've started setting better boundaries for myself when it comes to working on YouTube projects, especially since I do still have a full-time job outside of this. Sometimes videos don't get done on time, and that's okay. Sometimes it takes a bit longer to write up a script, and that's okay too. There is a struggle to being creative. Sometimes the ideas just aren't flowing, or you'll start to feel burnt out, and there will also be those late nights and lost sleep. It's part of the process, but it should never become an obsession or the norm. Maybe it's worth it to push yourself a bit harder to improve, but you also have to make ample time for breaks and rest, otherwise you'll burn yourself out and get nothing done. I've learned this the hard way. When you don't prioritize rest, you'll end up getting less work done overall than if you just took a break and allowed yourself to get ample rest. This whole section of the movie with Fujino resonated with me a lot and felt like it was saying, the hard work you put in is valid and a necessary part of getting better, but also don't forget to rest and spend time with your loved ones. I also learned that it's important to just be yourself. Instead of trying to emulate the creators that inspired me, I needed to just focus on making my own content and marching to the beat of my own drum like I used to. Another part that resonated with me a lot was at the very end when Kiyomoto asks, "Why do you draw, Fujino?" Which made me get really introspective and ask myself the same question. Why do I make YouTube videos? Well, the first and most important answer is to glorify God. I've been given these talents and interests and all of this stuff to film, so I'll use that to glorify Him. But outside of that, I make videos because it's fun. I enjoy recording, making thumbnails, editing from time to time, and just making content that people enjoy. And keeping that mindset can be hard sometimes because you want every video to be a banger and do well, but that's not always the case, and you kind of just have to shrug it off and move on to the next one. At the end of the day, as long as I had fun making the video and I feel like it's glorifying God, then I'm content no matter how the video performs. Now, all that being said, overall, I really enjoyed Look Back, honestly a lot more than I thought I would. As I've already mentioned, the story is incredible and the animation was quite incredible as well. The voice actresses for Fujino and Kyomoto also did a phenomenal job and definitely drew out the emotions of each character. Would I buy this movie on Blu-ray? Maybe, I'm not entirely sure yet, but I would definitely watch it again when it comes to streaming, and if you're a creative person, or even if you're not, I'd definitely recommend giving it a watch. But that's all I've got for this video. Feel free to jump in the comments and let me know what you thought of Look Back, or if I convinced you to give it a watch. I did try to keep things pretty spoiler-free. I do hope you enjoyed this video, and I want to give a special shout out to John Bass, Trevor, Maximum Effort Max, Sean Tige, Spectral TV, Amor12321, Zeke Shine, TC Indiana, Wiki Silence, and everyone else who's become a member and helped support me this month, since it all goes back to making videos just like this. Be sure to check out one of the 2 videos on screen and subscribe so you don't miss some of the banger videos that I have coming up.